Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. How many times have you been in a situation where someone's actions spoke louder than their words, but you still couldn't quite decode the message? You see, real love, it's often not shouted from the rooftops. It's whispered in the quiet corners of consistent behavior. Today, we're talking about the 10 signs he's quietly in love with you, but hiding it. Why does he hide it? Fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability. Maybe he's still figuring himself out. But here's the truth, his actions are leaving breadcrumbs, and if you know what to look for, you'll see the path right in front of you. Body language never lies. When words fail, the body speaks. Does he lean in when you talk? Does he hold eye contact a little longer? Does he subconsciously mirror your movements? These are not random occurrences, they're signs that, at a primal level, he's drawn to you. Subtle prioritization. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. But if he's choosing to spend his precious time helping you with something, listening to your rants after a long day, or showing up for you when it matters, that's a clear indicator. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just showing up consistently. Protective instincts. Now listen to me carefully. If a man loves you quietly or openly, there's this built-in instinct to protect you. Maybe it's as small as walking on the roadside closer to traffic or checking in to make sure you got home safe. Pay attention to these little gestures because they're not little at all. Deep emotional conversations. Most men are conditioned to keep their emotions locked up like a vault. But if he's sharing his fears, dreams, or past hurts with you, that's intimacy. That's trust. And trust isn't given away cheaply. Jealousy in disguise. Now, I'm not talking about toxic, possessive behavior that's not love, but subtle jealousy, a flicker of discomfort when you mention another guy. That's his heart saying, hey, I care about this person more than I'm letting on. Silent sacrifices. Love isn't just about grand romantic gestures. Sometimes it's about the small sacrifices, things he does behind the scenes without you even knowing. Maybe he rearranges his schedule to fit yours, or he remembers the tiny details you mentioned weeks ago. And here's the kicker if you're nodding your head right now, because some of these points hit home. Let me tell you this, you already have your answer. But here's the challenge, don't just sit back and overanalyze his every move. Communicate. Connection grows in clarity, not confusion. So remember, love isn't always spoken. Sometimes it's shown in the smallest, quietest ways. But if you're paying attention, those whispers can be louder than any words. Now go out there, trust your instincts, and recognize the love that's been quietly blooming in front of you. Thank you. When it comes to human connection, let me tell you something, powerful body language never lies. Words can be manipulated, feelings can be masked, but the body is an honest storyteller. It's always speaking, whether we realize it or not. Now, in the context of a man who's quietly in love with you but hiding it, his body becomes the loudspeaker for emotions he might not have the courage to voice. You see, we are biologically wired to respond to people we care about. It's not conscious, it's instinctive. When a man is drawn to you, when he feels something for you, his body will behave in ways that are primal, natural, and often beyond his awareness. Let's break this down. Have you noticed how he positions himself around you? A man who's quietly in love with you will naturally face you when he talks. He'll angle his body towards you even in a group setting. Why? Because subconsciously you are his point of focus. Then there's eye contact. Oh, this is a big one. Eyes are often called the windows to the soul, but I'd argue they're also the most vulnerable part of human connection. If he holds eye contact with you just a little longer than normal, if his gaze softens when he looks at you, that's not random. That's not coincidence, that's connection. In fact, studies in psychology have shown that prolonged eye contact releases oxytocin, the same chemical associated with bonding and trust. And it's not just about the eyes, it's about mirroring. Have you ever noticed him adopting your gestures or posture without even realizing it? Maybe you're sitting cross-legged, a few minutes later he's sitting the same way. Or maybe you lean in when you're talking and he instinctively does the same. That's mirroring. And mirroring is one of the strongest nonverbal indicators of emotional alignment and attraction. It's the body's way of saying, I feel connected to you. I'm in sync with you. Now, let's talk about physical proximity. A man who feels something for you will want to be close to you. It doesn't mean he'll always invade your space or make grand romantic gestures, but he'll find ways to close the physical gap. He might sit next to you when there are plenty of other seats available. He might lean in closer when you're showing him something on your phone. And here's a subtle one if you're walking side by side. Does he adjust his pace to match yours? That's not just politeness, that's attunement. But there's more. Watch his hands. Hands are incredible emotional tellers. If he's fidgeting, if he's playing with his watch or rubbing the back of his neck when he's talking to you, that could be nervous energy that stems from caring what you think of him. But here's the interesting part: if he feels safe around you, if he's comfortable, his hands will also be relaxed and open. Closed off body language like crossing arms or turning his body away often signals discomfort or disinterest. But if he's facing you, his arms are relaxed and his hands are open, that's the body's way of saying, I'm here. I'm present. I'm engaged with you. You see, most people overlook these details because they're busy waiting for someone to just say how they feel. But love, especially the kind of love a man might be hiding, it's often shown in whispers, not shouts. And those whispers are embedded in his body language. Now, I want you to think about this. How does he react when you laugh? When you're genuinely happy, does he smile too? And not just any smile, a real smile, one that reaches his eyes. That's called the Duchenne smile. And it's one of the rarest forms of expression because it can't be faked. If your joy triggers his joy, if he seems genuinely affected by your emotional state, that's his heart showing itself in the subtlest way possible. But let's not stop there. There's one final layer to this unconscious protective gestures. If you're walking together, does he naturally move to the side closer to traffic? If you're in a crowded room, does he subtly position himself in a way that creates a buffer between you and others? These small, instinctive actions scream affection or acts of care without the need for words. The bottom line is this: you can't fake consistent body language. A man can put on a confident front, he can rehearse lines, he can even try to control his emotions. But the body, it leaks the truth. So pay attention to how he behaves when he's around you. Because sometimes his body is telling you the story his lips are too afraid to speak. And remember, awareness is power. When you start noticing these cues, you'll see the truth was right in front of you all along. Time is the most valuable resource any of us have. You, me, him, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and how we choose to spend those hours reveals what we truly value. Now, let me tell you something powerful when a man quietly loves you but hides it. One of the clearest indicators isn't in what he says, but in how he prioritizes you. Pay attention, because love, especially the kind that's unspoken, often shows up in the moments he chooses to carve out just for you. Think about this life as busy. Responsibilities stack up, deadlines loom, and everyone's plate is overflowing. But somehow, amidst all of that noise, he consistently finds a way to show up for you. Maybe it's as simple as replying to your texts promptly, even when he's knee-deep in work. Or maybe he volunteers to help you with something he had no obligation to get involved in. These moments are not random, they are choices. Every time he chooses to prioritize you, he's silently communicating, you matter to me. But let's go deeper, because it's not just about time, it's about presence. You know what I mean by presence, right? It's not just being physically there, it's being mentally and emotionally present. If he's with you and his phone is face down on the table, if he's fully engaged in the conversation, if he remembers the little things you told him weeks ago, that's prioritization. That's his way of saying, in this moment, you are the most important thing to me. You'll notice this especially when he adjusts his plans for you. Maybe he shifts around his schedule to make time for a coffee with you. Maybe he stays up late just to talk because he knows you had a rough day. These aren't grand, sweeping romantic gestures. They're subtle, consistent choices. And that's where the gold is. Because love isn't always fireworks and movie-like moments. It's often in the quiet, consistent sacrifices someone makes to ensure you feel seen, valued, and cared for. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A man who's quietly in love with you will make you feel like you're a priority without ever explicitly saying it. You'll start noticing patterns. He'll show up to events that are important to you, even if they aren't necessarily his thing. He'll remember your favorite drink and surprise you with it when you least expect it. And here's something subtle but profound when you talk. He listens. Not just to the words, but to the meaning behind them. And then he'll act on what he's heard, sometimes in ways so small that you might miss them if you're not paying attention. But here's the thing, prioritization isn't always convenient. That's what makes it so meaningful. It's easy to prioritize someone when life is smooth and schedules are clear. But what about when he's stressed? When he's overwhelmed? If he still finds a way to check in on you, to show up in your life, to make sure you're okay, that's not surface level affection. That's real investment. There's also something else to notice. Does he make space for you in his future conversations? Does he talk about plans no matter how small that involve you? Maybe it's as subtle as saying, we should try that restaurant sometime, or you'd love this book one just read. These might seem like throwaway lines, but they're not. They're his way of weaving you into his world, one casual mention at a time. And here's one more thing to keep in mind. Sometimes prioritization looks like vulnerability. If he's letting you into his inner world, his struggles, his fears, his doubts, it's a form of prioritization too. Because let me tell you something, men don't share those parts of themselves with just anyone. If he trusts you enough to show you those sides of himself, you are not just another person in his life. You are a significant presence. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but he's not saying anything directly. Shouldn't he just tell me how he feels? Sure, in an ideal world, yes, but not every man is wired that way. Some men speak love fluently in actions, not words. And when you learn to recognize the language of consistent prioritization, you'll realize it's often louder and more genuine than any love confession could ever be. The bottom line is this: a man's time is his currency, and he will always spend it on what he values most. If he's choosing to spend it on you, if he's showing up for you, if he's listening, if he's paying attention, you don't need a grand speech to confirm his feelings. They're already written in the way he consistently prioritizes your presence in his life. So open your eyes, open your heart, and start noticing these subtle signals. Because sometimes love isn't spoken, it's scheduled, it's shown, and it's present in the quiet moments of genuine care. There's something deeply ingrained in the DNA of a man, a primal instinct, a quiet yet powerful drive that emerges when he feels strongly about someone. It's the instinct to protect. Now, protection doesn't always mean grand heroic gestures or dramatic moments of saving you from danger. No, it's often found in the subtleties, the little moments where he steps in, sometimes without even realizing it, to make sure you're safe, comfortable, and cared for. You see, when a man cares about you when he's quietly in love with you, but hasn't yet found the courage or clarity to express it outright, this protective instinct becomes one of the most telling signs of his feelings. It's like an unspoken contract, a silent promise he makes to himself: I'm going to look out for her. And the beauty of it is that he doesn't even have to think about it. It's automatic. Pay attention to how he behaves in situations where you're vulnerable, even in small ways. For example, if you're walking together on a busy street, does he naturally position himself on the side closer to the traffic? That's not random, it's his instinct kicking in. If you're out with friends and he notices you're uncomfortable with someone's behavior, does he subtly step in to change the dynamic or redirect your attention? These moments might seem insignificant on the surface, but they're incredibly revealing. Then there's the way he checks on you. Maybe he sends a quick message when he knows you're walking home alone at night, or maybe he makes sure you text him when you've reached your destination safely. That's not him being overbearing, that's him caring. It's him acting on that deep internal drive to ensure you're okay. And listen, men don't do that for just anyone. If he's doing it for you, it's because on some level, you matter to him. But protection isn't just physical, it's emotional too. A man is quietly in love with you will guard not only your physical safety, but also your emotional well-being. He'll notice when something's off. He'll pick up on your silence, your change in mood, your tired eyes. Without prying or pushing, he'll create space for you to feel seen and understood. Maybe he won't have all the answers, and maybe he won't always know the perfect thing to say, but he'll be there. He'll be present. And sometimes presence is the most powerful form of protection there is. Here's something else to notice. Does he stand up for you? If someone speaks negatively about you or tries to undermine you, does he step in subtly or directly to defend your name? That's protection. And let me tell you something, a man doesn't risk discomfort or confrontation on behalf of someone he doesn't care about. And protection doesn't always look serious. Sometimes it's playful. Maybe he teases you in a lighthearted way, but immediately stops if he senses it bothered you. Or perhaps he notices when you're overwhelmed and lightens the mood with humor. That's still him protecting you, protecting your peace, your joy, and your sense of balance. Now, here's a big one when you're going through a hard time. How does he respond? Does he step back and disappear, or does he lean in closer? A man who feels deeply for you, whether he's admitted it to himself or not, will not run away when things get tough. He might not have all the answers, but he'll offer support in whatever way he can. Maybe it's a listening ear, maybe it's practical help, or maybe it's just quietly sitting by your side so you don't feel alone. There's also a layer of subtle vulnerability in this protective instinct. You see, when a man truly cares about someone, he starts to feel responsible for their well-being. And with that responsibility comes a certain level of emotional exposure. If something happens to you, if you're hurt, upset, or struggling, it affects him deeply. Even if he's trying to hide it, you'll see it in the way his face drops when he realizes you're not okay. Or in the way he lingers a little longer to make sure you're all right before saying goodbye. But here's the tricky part. Not every man is vocal about this instinct. Some men show it in grand gestures, while others communicate it in tiny, almost imperceptible ways. That's why you need to pay attention not just to what he says, but to how he acts. His protective nature might show up in how he insists on walking you to your car, how he offers his jacket when it's cold, or how he quietly pays attention to the little details that make you feel safe and comfortable. At the end of the day, this instinct isn't about control, it's about care. It's about saying your well-being matters to me and I'll do whatever I can to make sure you're okay, and trust me, a man doesn't offer that level of care to just anyone. So if you start noticing these subtle signs of protection, if you feel safer, more at ease, and more cared for when he's around, then chances are his feelings for you are deeper than he's letting on. Love isn't always loud, and sometimes the quietest gestures carry the deepest meaning. Pay attention, because in those small protective moments, you'll find the truth you might not yet have the words to say. When a man starts opening up to you on an emotional level, it's not random, it's not something he does casually or without thought. Men, by nature or by social conditioning, are often taught to keep their feelings locked away, guarded behind walls of logic and stoicism. Vulnerability? That's a risky business for most men. But when he begins to share his inner world with you, his fears, his dreams, his regrets, it's not just small talk. That's intimacy, that's trust. And let me tell you something powerful. Trust is the foundation of love. You see, men are like vaults. They keep their emotions locked away, not because they don't feel, but because they've been taught that revealing those feelings makes them weak. Society often sends the message that a real man keeps it together, stays strong, and doesn't let his guard down. So when a man starts sharing his deeper thoughts with you, his worries about the future, his insecurities about his career, or even childhood stories that shaped who he is today, it means he sees you as someone safe. You've become a space where he can let his guard down without fearing judgment or ridicule. But here's the key. This isn't always obvious. He might not come right out and say, hey, I feel safe with you, so here's my soul on a platter. No, it's usually subtler. Maybe he talks about his family in a way he doesn't with others. Perhaps he shares a failure that still stings when he thinks about it. Or maybe he admits something he's afraid of, something he wouldn't say in a room full of his friends. These moments are golden. They're the cracks in his armor, where the light of authenticity shines through. When a man feels deeply for someone, he starts letting them into the corners of his mind he usually keeps locked away. And listen to me carefully, this is not easy for him. It requires courage. It requires trust. It requires the belief that you will handle his vulnerability with care. So if he's doing this with you, if he's inviting you into his emotional world, recognize the weight of that invitation. Because let me tell you, he's not doing that with just anyone. Now, here's where a lot of people miss the signs they expect these emotional conversations to be grand, cinematic moments. But real emotional intimacy often happens in the quiet in between spaces. Maybe it's during a late-night conversation when his guard is naturally lower. Maybe it's in the way he texts you after a rough day, admitting that he's exhausted or overwhelmed. Or maybe it's when he casually drops a piece of personal information that he wouldn't typically share with others. These are not accidents, these are invitations. But it's not just about him sharing, it's also about how he listens when you share. Have you noticed how he reacts when you talk about something deeply personal? Does he lean in? Does he remember what you said weeks later? A man who truly cares won't just listen to respond, he'll listen to understand. He'll sit with your emotions, even if they're messy, uncomfortable, or difficult. That's emotional presence, and emotional presence is one of the rarest and most valuable gifts someone can offer in a relationship. There's also a protective layer to these emotional conversations. If he's truly invested in you, he won't just share his emotions, he'll want to understand yours. He'll ask questions. He'll probe deeper when you seem upset. Not because he's nosy, but because he genuinely cares about what's going on in your world. He wants to know your fears, your dreams, and your struggles because those things matter to him. And let me tell you something else, emotional sharing isn't always smooth or polished. Sometimes it's clumsy. Sometimes he might start to say something and then pull back because it feels too exposed, too raw. Don't mistake that hesitation for indifference. Sometimes the fact that he's trying at all is proof enough of how much you mean to him. Now here's the tricky part. Not every man is equally skilled at emotional expression. Some men will pour their hearts out in long conversations while others will share in small, almost cryptic doses. But the pattern is what matters. If he consistently lets you into parts of his life and emotions that others don't get to see, that's not random. That's intentional. That's connection. At the end of the day, emotional conversations are one of the clearest indicators of deep affection because they require vulnerability. And vulnerability is not a game, it's a risk. Every time he shares something real with you, he's risking rejection. He's risking being misunderstood, but he's doing it anyway because on some level he trusts you with his heart. So pay attention to these moments. Don't brush them off or assume they're meaningless. When he opens up to you, even in small ways, respond with care, with patience, and with your own vulnerability. Because emotional intimacy isn't built overnight. It's built in these fragile, courageous moments of connection. And if he's letting you into his inner world, even if he's not saying the words out loud, he's quietly showing you how much you mean to him. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with a grand speech. It arrives in a quiet confession, a shared fear, or a long pause where he's deciding whether or not to let you see just a little bit more of who he truly is. Don't miss those moments. They're where love grows. When a man is quietly in love with you but hasn't yet found the courage or maybe the clarity to say it outright, one of the most telling signs will be in his attention to detail. And let me tell you something about attention. It's one of the rarest and most powerful gifts someone can give you. In a world constantly fighting for our focus phones, buzzing, schedules overflowing, distractions everywhere, when a man takes the time to notice the little things about you, it's not random, it's intentional. It's a sign that you occupy space not just in his mind, but in his heart. You see, anyone can notice the big, obvious things about you, your laugh, your smile, the way you carry yourself in a room. But a man who's quietly in love will start noticing the small things, the details most people overlook. Maybe it's the way your eyebrows twitch slightly when you're annoyed, or how you tap your fingers on a table when you're deep in thought. Maybe it's the way your voice softens when you talk about something you love, or how you light up when you hear your favorite song. These aren't random observations, they're evidence of his focus on you. Now let's go a little deeper, because this is where it gets interesting. It's not just about what he notices, it's also about how he remembers. Pay attention to the small callbacks he makes in conversation. Did you casually mention your favorite childhood snack weeks ago, only for him to show up with it one day? Did you tell him about a stressful meeting and he checked in afterward to ask how it went? These aren't coincidences. These are intentional acts of care. They say, I heard you, I remembered, you matter to me. And let me tell you, that kind of attention isn't accidental. It requires effort. It requires investment. Because we don't retain details about people we don't care about. It's just human nature. When a man starts picking up on your preferences, your habits, and your quirks, it's because he's paying attention in a way most people don't. And attention, my friend, is love in action. But here's something else to notice. How does he respond when you're struggling? A man who truly cares won't just notice when you're upset, he'll notice why you're upset. Maybe it's the way you fall quiet when something's bothering you, or how you avoid eye contact when you're trying to hold back tears. He'll pick up on those cues, even if you don't say a word, and he'll respond not necessarily with grand gestures, but with small acts of care. Maybe he offers a listening ear. Maybe he subtly lightens the mood with humor. Or maybe he simply stays close, letting you know he's there if you need him. Now, here's where it gets even more powerful. Does he notice the things that make you happy? Does he pay attention to your smile, your laughter, and the moments when your energy shifts into joy? You'd be surprised how many people overlook this. But a man who's quietly in love with you will notice what brings you peace, what sparks your enthusiasm, and what makes you feel alive, and he'll try to create more of those moments for you. Maybe he remembers how much you love sunrises and sends you a picture of one when he's up early. Maybe he knows you've been working hard and reminds you to take a break. Or maybe he simply remembers how you take your coffee and brings it to you just the way you like it without even asking. These are not insignificant details, they are the fingerprints of genuine affection. But let's address something important sometimes. These gestures are so subtle that they can be easy to miss. You might brush them off as coincidence or think, oh, he's just being nice, but kindness without intention is casual, while kindness paired with attention is focused. A man doesn't consistently notice and remember the small things about you unless he truly values you. And here's something else to keep in mind. When a man starts mirroring your habits, your phrases, or your mannerisms, it's often subconscious, but it's deeply revealing. Maybe he starts using one of your favorite catchphrases. Maybe he adopts your habit of pausing to appreciate a good sunset. These little echoes are signs of connection. They're proof that you've left an imprint on him. But don't mistake this attention for a transactional effort. It's not about him trying to impress you. It's about him being invested in you. It's about him caring enough to store away little pieces of information about you, because those pieces matter to him. At the end of the day, love isn't always spoken as shown. And one of the clearest ways a man shows love, even when he's hiding it, is through his focus, his memory, and his attention to the details that make you you. So pay attention to the patterns. Does he remember the things you've told him, even the ones you thought were insignificant? Does he notice when your energy shifts, your mood changes, or your smile fades? Does he make an effort to create moments of comfort or joy based on what he's learned about you? If the answer is yes, then let me tell you something. He's not just being nice. He's not just being polite. He's invested. Because attention is one of the most honest forms of affection. You can't fake it. You can't force it. And you certainly can't fake consistency in it. If he's consistently showing you this level of focus, care, and thoughtfulness, you can be sure of one thing: you've already got a special place in his heart. Even if he hasn't said the words out loud yet, his attention is speaking volumes. Don't ignore it. One of the most powerful and often overlooked signs that a man is quietly in love with you is how he behaves around your loved ones. Now, I want you to understand something very clearly. When a man truly cares about you, he doesn't just care about you in isolation. He starts caring about the people who matter to you too. And this goes beyond just being polite to your friends and family. No, this is about how he genuinely integrates into your world, how he takes a sincere interest in the people who shape your life. This is where his love for you starts to expand beyond just the two of you into a wider circle. First, pay attention to how he behaves when he's around your friends. Does he make an effort to engage with them, to connect with them, to build relationships that aren't just based on your connection, but on his own interest in their well-being? A man who's quietly in love with you won't just show up for you, he'll show up for the people who matter to you. He won't just smile politely and stay in the background. He'll make an effort to fit into your world because he wants to be a part of it, not just for you, but because he values the people who have shaped who you are. And let me tell you, this isn't always easy. Men can sometimes feel a little out of place in social settings, especially when they don't know people as well. But if he's quietly in love with you, He'll push through any discomfort he might feel just to show you that he's willing to be a part of your life. This shows a level of investment that goes beyond surface level affection. It's about creating a real, lasting connection with the entire circle of people that matter to you. But it's not just about him being there physically. Watch how he interacts with your loved ones. Does he ask questions about your family's history, or does he remember the details they've shared with him before? Does he engage in meaningful conversations with your friends, or is he just checking off the social obligation list? A man who is truly in love with you will take the time to engage with your loved ones in a way that feels genuine. He won't just ask surface level questions. He'll take an interest in their stories, their struggles, and their successes. He'll want to understand who they are, because those connections matter to him. When he starts building relationships with your family, it's another powerful signal. He doesn't just show up for family gatherings out of obligation. He starts creating genuine bonds. Maybe he has a deep conversation with your sibling about something they both care about. Perhaps he bonds with your parents over shared interests, or he offers help when they need it, even if you're not around. These actions show that he's not just trying to impress you, he's trying to become an active participant in your life. He's starting to invest in your loved ones because for him, they are a part of the package that is you. But there's something even more subtle to notice. How does he handle moments when your loved ones are going through difficult times? When your family is facing a challenge, does he offer support, or does he retreat? A man who's quietly in love with you will step up during the tough times, not because he's looking for praise, but because he genuinely cares. If your family is struggling or a close friend is going through a hard time, he'll be there to offer help, even in small ways, whether it's offering to run errands or just being a quiet support when things are emotionally heavy. This is his way of showing you that he's not just in love with you, he's in love with your entire world. It's also in the way he talks about your loved ones. A man who's quietly in love will speak about your friends and family with respect, warmth, and admiration. He won't just say the obligatory, "Oh, they seem nice." No, he'll have more to say. He'll tell you how much he appreciates the people who have shaped you, because he knows that those relationships are a key part of who you are. When a man takes the time to build bonds with your loved ones, it's not just about trying to win your approval, it's about wanting to integrate into your life, wanting to show you that he's serious. It's his way of saying, I'm not just in this for us, I'm in this for us, I'm in this for all of you. Now, I know some of you might be wondering, but does this mean he has to get along with everyone in my life? No, it doesn't mean that. Not everyone has to be best friends, but it does mean he will make an effort to understand, to communicate, and to connect. Even if there are differences, he'll show respect for the people who are important to you. At the end of the day, how a man treats your loved ones speaks volumes about how much he truly cares about you. It's easy to show affection in private, but it's in those moments when he's integrating himself into your wider world that you start to see the depth of his feelings. So if he's consistently making an effort to engage with your friends and family, to build meaningful relationships with them, and to show respect for the people who matter to you, then take note, this is a man who's not just quietly in love with you, he's building a future that includes you, your world, and the people you cherish. Love doesn't always shout from the rooftops. Sometimes it speaks in quiet gestures, subtle actions, and the smallest of details. The signs that a man is quietly in love with you aren't always dramatic, but they're often the most genuine and sincere expressions of affection. When he prioritizes your needs, shares his vulnerabilities, pays attention to the little things, and integrates into your world, these are all indicators of a love that is deep, enduring, and meaningful. It's in how he listens, how he remembers, how he shows up, not just for you, but for your world as well. So pay attention to these moments. Don't let them pass unnoticed, because they are a reflection of his heart, even if he hasn't found the words to say it yet. Love doesn't always look the same in every person, but these signs are universal, a quiet, consistent presence that speaks volumes about his feelings for you. When you see them, know that you're witnessing something truly special, a love that's building, growing, and strengthening, even without the grand declarations. And remember, sometimes the most profound love is the one that's quietly hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to fully unfold. So trust in these signs and trust in the journey, because when a man truly loves you, you'll see it in everything he does.